Hey there, hey there, hey there. Make sure everyone can chat. Oh, want to see where you're coming from. I always like to see in the chat where everyone's coming from and where they're based, I should say. Where are you based? I'm here in Roy, North Carolina. Goes early afternoon there. We got Chris's Firefly in there. Let's see, where else
Hello,
is everyone
everybody.
else based?
Hey, Charles. Hey,
Hey there, what's up, Dean?
everybody. Got your Christmas hat on, dude. I'm wearing black. I should be more Christmas themed. My apologies.
Going on? At least have your Christmas theme on.
Yeah.
I was saying it at my kid's day, so I just didn't wear the whole thing. Um, good. So we'll kind of get started here. Was it 12:01? We'll get started here in a minute. Love to hear where everyone's coming from. Um, and yeah, we'll get started here in a second. He's going to share a screen. Oh, we got Zoom up.
Can you see it, Charles? Can you see a PowerPoint?
We can.
Perfect.
Excellent. It's 12:02. Let's get her started. Perfect, guys. Well, appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming to our Masterclass session 15. We do this every single month. We basically just give free knowledge to the NetSuite ecosystem. Charles Stevenson, VP of Sales. We'll go through that as well. But thank you guys for coming out. Let's go next one. Confidentiality notice. Go ahead and read that. Objective. I'll let Dean. You can go ahead and go through this.
Yeah. No, thanks, Charles. Uh, Essentially, the reason why we've started this and we've continued it, we've had a lot of positive feedback, and people kind of appreciate that our goal is to help people get the most out of their NetSuite environment, right? There's a lot of challenges in the NetSuite space. We find that most of those things pinpoint or hinge around lack of training. There's things like CSV imports, safe search reporting, leveraging workflows to automate processes, using custom records, fields, forms. I mean, NetSuite is a super robust system, and we find most people just don't know what they don't know and they're not using it. So that's kind of the most common thing that we hear is, I don't know what I don't know, and kind of makes sense. So our goal is that hopefully through these sessions, we kind of show what's possible. Some of the stuff we're covering, maybe you already know, maybe you don't. The hope is that you can at least leave any one of these sessions, hopefully learning something new is the goal. But yeah, that's kind of our objective here. And then on the agenda, what we typically do, we just start off with a quick introduction to Scale North, myself, Charles, and then we'll go right into the actual master class and the use cases, which today it's we're calling this the Red Flag NetSuite Red Flag Playbook. So we're going to kind of go into some financial red flags that you can look for, things to spot in your account, some operational red flags, things that you can spot in your account. We'll even look at using the system performance, doing a system performance review using the APM tool and bundle, and then finish on looking at some audit trails and things like that. So really to help figure out, pinpoint some issues in your account before they become hopefully too big of issues. And then we end with a live Q&A and next steps. Charles, I'll hand it back to you if you don't mind on the introductions.
For sure. Yep. So Charles Stevenson, VP of Sales. If you've well, first of all, put a one in the chat if you've come here before. If you this is your first time, put a two in the chat if you don't mind, just so we know. But Charles Stevenson, VP of Sales, Bachelor Screen Accounting, manage large sales teams for large companies. Um, and then our buddy Dean, he is our Senior Business Development Manager. He actually has a lot of years of experience in NetSuite, public and private accounting experience, using NetSuite for 2 years as his controller for a good sized organization. But last 7 years, he's been in implementations, actually a director in our consulting group, and just recently moved into more of a sales role last couple of years. So you're definitely getting a treat here, guys.
Thanks,
Go
Charles.
next. Yeah. Our company, so Scale North, if you don't know us, be very brief. We're one of the largest NetSuite specific consulting firms in North America. Over 280 employees, consultants across the world, 1,600 years of collective NetSuite experience, a lot of certifications. I think the most impressive is just our average NetSuite experience per person is 8.5 years. And then 2.5 billion, we actually process 2.5 billion in revenue for our outsourced accounting clients. So we're actually one of the largest users of NetSuite on top of doing implementations, customizations, etc. And then 57% of our total staff are CPAs. So no one else can really say that. Let's go next. Perfect. So like I said, these are our services at a glance. NetSuite implementation. Obviously, we do a lot of implementations. We do a lot of rescue implementations. I'm going to outsource accounting, right? Like I said, we process almost 3 billion in revenue for about 120 plus clients. And then NetSuite consulting, managed services, being able to optimize integrations. And then we have a technical services group that helps with customizations, integrations. They can build anything. We actually have 3 apps that are on the Suite app, on NetSuite Suite app as well. Let's go next. Tech partners, some of the usual suspects. It's just a handful of the major ones that we deal with, that we have a strong relationship with. So I'm sure you see some that you used to, but these are just a few of them.
Okay. Thanks, Charles.
Yeah.
And then a quick disclaimer, we're going to be showing stuff in a NetSuite environment, and the real purposes of these classes are to be for demonstration and educational purposes, right? We highly recommend if you're going to do any of this stuff that you do it in a sandbox environment first. Ultimately, what we have to say is we're not responsible for anything that's not performed by ScaleNorth. So, again, goal is to teach, show what's possible. Definitely go play around in sandboxes and learn, but you're ultimately responsible for actions that you take in your NetSuite environment. Um, so, all right, cool. We got that disclaimer out of the way. So I think we're going to jump right into it, Charles. Again, let's tell people if they have questions, you can start to log them in the Q&A. I'm sure you covered that
No,
a
I
little bit.
haven't. So real
Oh,
quick,
okay.
if you guys have questions, please don't put them in the chat. There should be a Q&A button with a question mark in the little box. Use that just because we can track it easier and things don't get missed in the chat.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to jump into looking at some financial red flags review. This is just an example. Obviously, we came up with some different use cases. So, the first one that we'll look at is negative inventory. There's quite a few ways that you can, easily pinpoint or spot negative inventory, which is not a good sign. You'd want to make sure you shouldn't really have negative inventory. We'll show you how you can kind of pinpoint that. The next thing is we created a saved search that can help you figure out if you have an account balance that's opposite of what the natural account balance should be. For instance, assets and those type of records should have a debit balance. You shouldn't have a credit in an asset account, and vice versa. You shouldn't have a credit in an expense account and things like that. So it's just going to look for the overall balance. If it doesn't agree with what it should be, easy way to pinpoint those so that you can further drill down and figure out what's going on there. And then we're going to quickly touch on how you can, if you want, you can enable a new feature from NetSuite. One of our masterclass attendees, I think you might be on, Roy, if that was you, who showed us about this last class. Wanted to touch on it a little bit more here, show people how they could take a look at it. You'd have to play around with it to see how much value it would be, but kind of cool little feature that's available. So we'll cover that as well. So let's jump into that now. Let me change my screen here really quick. One sec. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. And let me share my screen again. Do we see NetSuite, Charles?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the first one that we said we were going to touch on was how to review negative inventory. So luckily, one of the easiest ways is there's just a native out of the box navigation path for it. To be honest, I didn't really know about it until I was prepping for this. So if you go to transactions, inventory, there's literally a review negative inventory. So that's probably the easiest way to pinpoint negative inventory. It's showing me here which items it is, which location they're in, and the quantity that's negative. So we'll definitely want to look into those, drill into those, and see what's going on. Uh, the second way or approach would be to actually create an inventory valuation report. So if we go to reports, let's see, where's inventory valuation. You basically bring up the standard report, and then if you wanted to customize this, you can customize this report, and we can add in some fields. So I think if we go quantity on hand, we could scroll down and we can actually add the inventory location. Here's the inventory location folder, and we could just put the name in. So we can move that to the left a little bit, and we can group it with the previous column so it will kind of show like that, I believe. And then let's see, we already got our on hand, and then we can add a filter if we want. So we can add that the quantity on hand as a filter, and we can say is less than 0. We could show it in our available filters if we want. And then we can name this report. So Masterclass negative inventory valuation summary. And we can run this report. Let's save that and see what that returns. So you can see here, it's showing your different items and it's showing the items that have negative inventory. So this is just another way, if you just wanted to see it kind of on a report and you can see the dollar values, the amount that's negative, that's helpful. It's another way that you could drill into it and see. And then the third way that we were going to show was actually creating a saved search. So we can do that by creating an item search. Go to reports, new search. This will be an item search. Okay. And it's a demo environment, so it's a little slow, but once that loads, we can go ahead and make this a save search, give it a name, call it MC negative inventory item search, make it public, and then we're going to add a filter. So pretty easy. Uh, Location on hand field, you can say is less than 0. So it's only going to show you inventory that's less, the quantity on hand that's less than 0. And then we can go to our results tab and we can add in a few more fields. So we can add what is the quantity on hand. And then we can add what is the location on hand. And then we can add the inventory location. Let me try that again. There we go. So we can try to run this, see what this looks like. We could do show totals. All right, let's see. So this is another view, right, where it's basically showing these are the two items where I have some negative inventory, and it shows which location it's in. So what this is saying is that the overall quantity on hand is negative 13, but in the US West location, it's 18. So that means that there's 5 positive somewhere else. And one way we could do that is just you could get directly to the item record from the search. And you can kind of validate if the search looks correct by just checking the inventory item uh, breakdown in tab. So if we go to the purchasing inventory subtab, down here is showing you in your locations which quantity you have, and here's that negative 18 in the US West. but we have five positive in US two. So the total on hand is the negative 13. So negative inventory is a big deal. Don't really want that to be happening. It means you're underwater. So just showed three different ways that you can kind of spot check that, pinpoint that pretty quickly. Before we move on to the next topic, is there any questions, Charles?
Roy had one, just says not really a question. Negative inventory report can be run as of a certain day, something I think a safe search can't do.
Yeah, I think that's right because the an inventory valuation report is as of a date, so you can kind of choose as of which date. And if it's showing negative, that means it's negative as of that date. When we're doing the search, because it's an item search, it's not really date specific at this point. It's just saying that it's seeing that the running accumulated total in the system is currently negative, not as of a date, but just overall. So good point there, Roy, if that answers it. Okay. Cool. So that kind of covered our negative inventory. The next example that we wanted to show, let me see here. What was it? So we covered the report. Yeah, we showed the search. The next thing that we were going to show was account balances, opposite of the natural debit and credit. So I think I created that search already here. Give me a sec. See if I can find that search. One sec. Okay. So this is kind of a cool search that we created. I think is kind of interesting. It shows quite a few concepts. So like we said, we want to be able to pinpoint if there's an opposite balance of what an account should be. So the way that we did that is we basically created an account save search. We leverage the following criteria, right? It's looking at only active GL accounts. We don't need to look at statistical accounts. It's looking at only accounts that don't have a balance of zero because I don't really, if it's zero, that's not really, I don't need to look into that. And then we add this formula text field that basically using some case win logic can kind of determine what we think it should be. And then if it looks like it's out of balance or maybe not what we'd expect, flag it as yes and filter for that. So we're going to dive into this formula a little bit here in the results, but we put the same result into our criteria so we can filter the search the same way. So on the results tab, you can see this is a pretty part of it's pretty basic search. It's just showing you what your account type is, what the name is, the display name. So the first couple formula fields that we add. So the first one that we'll add is a formula text. And basically what we're doing here, let me open this up a little bigger. We can see is we're most chart of accounts are set up by accountants, and most chart of accounts follow a logic of account numbering. So one series is normally your assets, twos is normally your liabilities, three is normally your equity. Once you get above three, you go into four, you're looking at normally your income statement accounts, revenue. Five, six, seven are normally expenses, and it kind of just goes on that way. That's if you don't have it set up that way, might want to check because I don't know that'd be best practice. But at the end of the day, that's typically a very common account numbering to accommodate a chart of accounts. So because of that, we were able to say, hey, I'm using a substring formula that will basically say, look at the account number, go to the first position of that account number string, and return the first result. So if it's looking at account number 10562 is your cash account, it's first returning the first number, which is one. So I'm gonna piggyback off of knowing that what the account number starts with kind of tells me what type of account type it is. If it's a one, it's most likely an asset account. Um, so we look at the substring in the first position or the first number. So let's say it's a one. And then I'm saying, because I know that if a natural debit balance would be in my asset accounts, and my expense accounts. So we get to leverage using a case when in type syntax. So when the result of this happens to be a 1, 5, 6, or 7, then I want to return text that says it should be a debit balance. Otherwise, or else, make it a credit balance. So if we preview these results, you see it's showing here's an account. It starts with, 1. It's 1010 cash. It's an asset account. It's a bank account, right? It should have a debit balance. That's what we would expect. So then we'll add on the next formula that will determine is this opposite of what it should be? So if we go back into the results, we'll look at the next formula that we added. This gets a little bit more nested and looks a little bit more complex and nasty, but if we break it into its parts, it's not that bad. So we're just taking the first part from our previous step above, pasting it in, but then we're going to add on to a little bit more. So we're saying if the result of this is a debit, then and the balance is less than zero, then I would say yes, it's out of balance, right? Because a one account should be a debit and assets if a one is equal to assets, assets should always have a positive debit balance. So we're saying if the balance is less than zero, that would imply that I have a debit, but the balance is a credit. That's where we're looking for the misalignment or the mismatch. A debit balance should have a positive or debit amount. So this is going to basically return a yes if it's not meeting the specific criteria. And then we just add on the similar opposite for the credit. If it's a credit and the balance is greater than zero, then that's also misaligned. So also a yes. So basically, it's determining whether or not it's wrong and returning a yes in both cases. So that's when we look at that formula kind of in action. That's why these are all saying yes, because this is a it expects a positive or debit balance, but you look over here to the right and the balance is negative. So it appears to be working, right? Here's that substring formula that's showing you just the very first digit of all the accounts over here. This starts with the 7, so it's pulling back a 7. This starts with the 3, so it's pulling back the 3. And then the last part to do is basically take this formula right here, the opposite natural debit credit, we can basically now leverage that formula in our results. So we just copy this whole string, come over to our criteria, add a formula text field, paste it in, and basically say, so you paste that whole thing in here and you say, if the result of this formula equals yes, we're going to only filter for where there's a mismatch. So we can leverage that formula to dynamically filter down the results to only where the result is yes, which indicates that there's a mismatch. And again, we run it and we can see um, the results. So pretty screwed up accounting, right? If you have negative cash. Pretty screwed up accounting if you have negative accounts receivable. You might want to hire Scale North Accounting to help you fix some of these issues if that's what's going on. But all joking aside, yeah, this can help you quickly pinpoint or spot things that don't look right. Um, I'll pause there really quick to see if any other questions popping up.
We had one question, I believe, on negative inventory. What is the fix? I know you kind of went through.
So that really depends. I mean, it's very easy what the fix needs to be from a system perspective. It's a lot harder to figure out what needs to happen in reality, right? But negative inventory, like, did stuff go missing? Like, you ship stuff that you didn't have. Well, how did you do a shipment if you didn't physically have the inventory to ship it? So it indicates a larger problem. Maybe there's theft, maybe there's stuff like that going on. Um, at the end of the day, if you can't go account for that inventory, you're going to have to do a true up and do an inventory adjustment to make it right. Those adjustments could be favorable or negative, and you don't want large swings just for accounting errors on your financials. So I don't know if that helps answer the question there.
I think that was it. Oh, sorry. Roy said, for us, negative inventory is a result of connected WMS that didn't post correctly.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you have an integration or something else going on and those two things aren't in sync, it could throw a lot of issues as well. Roy, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Anything you want to share there?
I'm going to allow him to talk. Roy, you can come off mute if you want.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so our WMS is connected by a SOAP, I believe. No,
Mm.
it's REST. And
Hmm.
so if the operator over receives, it's going to give them a warning, but they can bypass the warning, therefore causing the issue upstream into NetSuite. So that's an example of just one of the ways that negative inventory can pop up for a company.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Roy. And it looks like you had another follow-on question about something about adding an HTML field to the account ledger and you want to expand on that a little bit, Roy, too?
Yeah, so quick question on the safe search because I think this is amazing. Would contra asset accounts work in this scenario, the way you've got the case win statements?
I probably have to update that to take that into consideration. I for demonstration purpose, I was just doing kind of the standard accounts, just quick demonstration. Because yeah, a contra should have the opposite in it, and so that might you'd have to probably just tweak your case win to take that logic into consideration. I didn't do that here, but that's a good call out and a very good observation.
Okay, cool. I can
Y-
I can do that. I just wanted to I was trying
Yeah,
to process it in my mind.
yeah, but what I thought was cool, I mean, and I've been in NetSuite a lot, and I still feel like I'm learning every day. The value of how you can combine and nest formulas together, right? Like I took a substring as a starting point, then I nested that and take the result of that substring and use a case win to determine what's going on with it, and then the whole in part. That's just a real sleek way to basically just rattle off a whole, hey, if any of these things, one, two, three, five, this is what I want to happen. I think before I knew about the case in, I just used to write tons of redundant case win, and like the in just kind of I felt like made it a lot more efficient. Have you found that, Roy?
I agree. Yeah, that is a solid and experienced safe search writer right there. So good job.
Yeah. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, these it's kind of cool. I know it's a little complex, but you have to kind of try these things out. And to be honest, I don't want to take too much credit for it. Let me bring up ChatGPT and show you how much I actually struggled to write that formula. And ChatGPT basically told me what I would just start asking it like, why is my formula not working? And it would tell me the answer. And don't want to take too much credit, but at some point I just copied and pasted the formula in and it worked. So ChatGPT is I'm now using this look, you literally see I was trying what is wrong with this formula? I couldn't get it to work. And then it said, just use this, and then I got it working. So ChatGPT could be a great diagnostic tool. It's really good at answering NetSuite questions and helping you. I kind of knew a lot to get me started, but I was struggling to finish it off on my own, and it kind of got me over the hump. So I would recommend that all day long. All right, well then I'm gonna jump back to our content here. Let me see where we were. One sec. All right, so we covered, yeah, that. I think the next part we were gonna show was the NetSuite AI exception management. So let me get to that point here. So to use this is a new feature. I think it was just released not that long ago. I think it was you, Roy, who actually pointed it out on our last class. Um, you can enable it by going to, it looks like let's see, setup, company enable features. And if you go to the accounting sub tab and scroll down, you see there's this now a new feature or module called exception management. This allows you to monitor your transaction and receive alerts if any fall outside for your usual activity. So it's got AI looking at your spend trends and things like that and trying to identify if maybe there's an exception or something that should be on your radar. So that's how you enable it to get it turned on. You can also set up some preferences around it if you go to accounting and accounting preferences. I didn't play with this too much, but if you, there's an exception management subtab, and here's where you can like display banners, kind of put in some criterias and whatnot. So I didn't play with this, but it looks interesting. So you could play around with this to see if you want to set up your preferences or settings. But essentially, once you have it enabled, you can add in to your home dashboard this exception management portlet. Give it a sec to load here. Okay. So once you're on your home screen, if you click personalize here, you'll see there's now an actual portlet or suitelet or whatever they call it, portlet for this. So you can click on that and it will add it into your home dashboard. And I'm going to clear out some of these filters. If you go into expected transactions, you see I didn't do anything. Like this thing literally just plug and play, see what it throws out. It's saying that there's about five possible exceptions, resulting in about $15,000. It thinks that you're missing some transactions. And if you want to see, well, why does it think that? You can click view details on any of these, and it pops up this AI analysis once it loads. It's usually not this slow. I hope I'm not having any internet connectivity issues, but you kind of see it behind the gray here. It's popped up. It's just loading. Give it another sec. Weird. Let me try refreshing. There we go. Maybe I just had to refresh. So you can see here it's saying based on your historical transactions, we expect a bill payment to this vendor, Emerald Computer Systems. It looks like you've been posting those almost monthly, but we don't see one yet. All right, cool. Thanks for telling me. Maybe it just hasn't happened yet or whatever, but there's things like that where you can kind of see if this tool can help you pinpoint possible problems before they're problems. Um, Roy, I wanted to see if you could maybe, you said you put it in your NetSuite instance too, right? And you've been playing with it. Have you found it valuable? Any take you can give the rest of the members on the call?
Most certainly, yeah. So I enabled it. Now, I just posted in the chat because this is only available in production accounts. They will not allow you to enable this in your sandbox. So, in full disclosure, we've been on NetSuite for about 10 years. So we have a lot of exceptions. For the folks that are new to NetSuite, you probably won't have as many. So I'm having to test this in production on the weekend. So I'm like enabling it and disabling it. So we're getting a lot of false positives and just trying to work through those. NetSuite did have a really good demo of it yesterday. I
Mm-hmm.
put a link in the chat. Go about halfway through the demo, and you actually see it in use. One thing that I learned is that end users will see these exceptions as they enter transactions if they have access to see those transactions. So they're not going to see like exceptions really tailored to like a controller.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Did you say you put, I did not, Charles, do you see the link that Roy put in the chat?
It's in the Q&A.
Oh, Q&A. Okay, my
My,
bad.
my
I'd like
Put
to,
it
apologies.
in the regular chat.
no, you're good. I'd like to get that though. That's cool. Uh, Perfect.
Just
Thanks
put it
for
in the regular
sharing
chat.
that. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that one. That's cool. All right, so then, yeah, so that just touches on, I don't think maybe many users know that that's available. So good to point out when there's new features and things available. Again, got to kind of try it out yourself to see. But moving on, let's see where we're at. Next, we were going to get into some operation. So that can kind of concludes just looking at some financial flags, right? These are things that might be on your financials off that you should be looking into. It can pinpoint some things. Next, we were going to look at some operational red flags, things around like inventory, shipping. So we're going to look at late shipments, a way to quickly identify, how many shipments are going out late. Then we'll look at any sales orders where we have zero inventory available, but there's an upcoming expected ship date. So that sounds like a problem, right? You're supposed to ship and you don't have any inventory. That's going to be a problem. So we'll find that. And then the last one we'll look at is just looking at when's the last time our customers ordered from us. If it's been a pretty long time, why? Do we need to get somebody reaching out to them? Do we need to take better care of them? Just things like that. So those are the three searches we're going to touch on from an operational perspective. So the first one is our late shipment save search. So we're going to go to reports and do a new search. hmm And this will be a transaction search. So we can click on transaction. Go ahead and create this as a saved search. Call this MC late shipment transaction search. We'll make it public. All right, and we can start adding some criteria here. So the first one will be, let's look at transaction type for sales orders. Okay. The next thing we'll add here is we'll look at the main line of the transaction. We don't actually need to look at the details. Okay. Then next, we'll look at the ship date field. This is basically when that order is supposed to ship by. So we'll just say is not empty, meaning it has a expected ship date. And then we can add in our actual ship date. So when did it actually ship? Again, not empty, meaning it has an actual ship date. And then we'll add a formula field. So we'll add a formula numeric. And basically what we're going to say is we'll take the actual ship date minus the order ship date. And basically, if that's greater than zero, it's shipped late. That's what that means. Greater than zero, set. Okay. So that's our criteria. Now we can go to our results. I'll remove some of this junk that's in here. Okay. And from a results perspective, let's add in some of those fields. So let's add in the actual ship date. Let's add in the order ship date. And then let's add in again, same thing, our formula numeric that we just did, we can reuse. So you come into the formula. Again, we're going to take actual ship date minus order ship date. Okay. And we can call this basically that's the number of days late, right? And if we want, what's cool, I don't know if this is maybe a new concept to some users, maybe not to others, but you can sort the results of your search by a formula field. So I can basically say I want to sort the days late from largest to smallest. So I'm looking at when my results return, it's showing me the latest orders that have shipped on top. So we to do that, you basically just do formula numeric. It's going to look for your first formula numeric field in your results. There's only one here, so it's going to find this one. And then we say descending. Descending basically means going from largest to smallest. So that's kind of what we want. That's why we would do descending. And we we can go ahead and run this search. All right, so here's it showing me all the orders that have shipped late, sorted by largest to smallest. I don't know what the hell happened here, but we're 145 days late on this order. And you start scrolling down pretty late, pretty late. It starts to get a little bit better. Obviously, it's sorted from largest to smallest, but having a search like this will help you really pinpoint any late orders, and try to get to the bottom of why are we shipping orders late. Looks like there's a few questions in the chat, maybe, or I think those have been all answered.
No, all answered. Those are Roy.
All those are good. Okay. So, unless there's any questions on this one, we can move to the next example. So, the next example we're going to take a look at is looking at sales orders where we don't have any inventory available, but they're expected to ship soon. So that could be a problem. We want to get ahead of that. So the first thing that we'll do, we'll go create a new search. Again, this will be a transaction search. Okay. It's going to have a lot of the same components from the last one that we did. So we'll hit create save search. Okay, I'm going to call this MC sales orders with zero available inventory and upcoming expected ship date. Okay, so we named it, make it public. So we'll start off with some criteria similar to the last one. We're going to look at sales orders. Okay, we're going to look at the ship date. The order date of the ship date of the order is not empty, meaning that it was set. And then we're going to add a formula field, formula numeric. This formula basically is to give us what I would consider a back ordered quantity so that you can identify that. So we will start off by doing NVL of a couple different quantity fields. NVL just means it's short for no value, NVL. So if there's no value, we want to return a zero so that when we're doing math or comparisons, you can't subtract blank, but you can subtract something if it's zero, if there's a numeric value or zero. So basically, we take a field value like quantity of the order. If quantity was somehow blank, then return a zero. So we'll take that minus our, we'll do another NVL of another quantity field, which is basically quantity fulfilled received, comma, zero, close parentheses. So the quantity minus the quantity fulfilled received minus, we'll add another NVL of the last field. So NVL of the quantity committed. Committed basically means you have inventory and it's been committed to an order. But if we subtract these three quantity fields, it's basically the equivalent of what's on back order. So, comma, zero, close parentheses. So we're subtracting three quantity fields. The quantity minus what's been shipped minus what has been committed basically gives us what's on back order. And we want this to be, if it's greater than zero, then that means it's it's on back order. So we put that in, and then we can add another criteria that says the ship date. Maybe we want to look at ship dates. Here's another little cool trick if you don't know this. you got all these quick filters that you can select. Usually people do date ranges, but there's this one called relative. So if you do relative, you can basically say, I want to look at anything where the order was expected to ship within, let's say, 0 weeks from now to maybe 2 weeks from now. So if, hey, I got an order that's supposed to ship between now and the next 2 weeks, let's filter down to those orders only, right? Um, to 2 weeks from now. So we added that in. And then we don't need to look at all sales orders, right? Maybe a sales order has been canceled, or maybe a sales order has been closed, or whatever. So we can filter for only sales orders that we would expect. So let's filter out those ones. If we look at status, let's we want to change it to instead of any of, none of. So we don't want any sales orders where the status is canceled or closed. All right. So this is giving us a pretty good criteria to filter down our results so we're not looking at everything in our NetSuite account. Um, Next, we want to add our results. So we go to our results. Let me get rid of some of this junk. Okay. So again, we could add in a formula numeric field. So formula numeric, come over to our formula. This is just going to be that one where we were taking our actual ship date minus our um, order date, so ship date from the order. And we can call that again, that's basically the days late. And then we can add in those different quantity fields that we added in our formula. We should see them here on the results. So we can add the quantity of the order. We can add the quantity fulfilled received of the order. And then we can add the quantity committed of the order. So this will allow you to see those results that were in our formula. And then we're going to add that back ordered quantity field. I'm not going to retype it. Typing it once was enough. So I'll go back where we had it, just copy it so I don't have to retype it. And we'll come here. So then this is going to be a formula numeric again. And you should just be able to copy and paste in the formula. And then we'll give it a label. We're saying that this formula is basically the equivalent of quantity back ordered. Okay. And then we can sort this again. Sometimes you want to sort your results so you see the most impactful results first. We're going to sort this by the order ship date. All right. And we're going to take it one step further and we're going to throw some highlighting on there, some conditional highlighting, so we can kind of really call attention to orders that look like they're really screwed up. So we'll go to highlighting and we'll basically say, if pop this open and let's see if the ship date is basically today and I don't have anything. If the ship date is supposed to be today and I don't have any inventory, we got a problem, right? So we'll say is equal to today. Okay. So if the ship date's today, what do we want to do? I can add an image. Maybe I'll add a check mark and we can put a background color, put it in red because it's kind of an issue. We can put bold, and then we can even give it a description like WTF, guys, like what's going on? Um, all right, and we got that set up. So add that, and we should now be able to save and run our results. So now you see your conditional highlighting in effect. I got some orders that are clearly screwed up. It's saying that I have an order that's supposed to go out today and I have no inventory available or on hand. It's back ordered. This is a problem, right? These are all the orders that are supposed to go out today that are in red. You can see red means WTF, guys, what's going on? Um, if it's not in red, it just means that, look, some of these orders are expected to ship tomorrow. and then the next day. So definitely want to get ahead of this before it's a problem. Uh, Customers like receiving stuff when they think they're going to get it, not late. So, any questions popped up from these examples? Okay, no questions. That's cool. We can keep moving. So, the last operational red flag search that we were going to show is just basically looking for um, when's the last time a customer ordered so we can pinpoint maybe customers we should be following up with. So we'll go to reports, new search. Okay. And this will be a customer search. Okay, we can filter it down. We could join to transaction fields. So even though this is a customer search, we want to look uh, at transaction fields to kind of help filter our data. So you can go to transaction fields. We can say the transaction type is equal to a sales order. Okay. And then we can add a formula field, formula numeric. And basically what we're going to say is if the sys date, that's short for system date, which is today's date. So that's how you know that. Sys date minus basically the transaction date. So go to transaction fields again and the date. So if today's date minus the sales order transaction date is greater than 0, then we're only looking at outstanding orders that are past today. So let's see, we're in 0. Okay. And then we can go to our results. Can remove some of this junk. All right. So again, we'll add those transaction date fields, transaction fields, the date. So this is now basically the date of the sales order. And then we can add uh, same field again, transaction fields. Let's go. Transaction fields. We'll add the date again, but this time, so we're going to group this, group it by customer, and then this will take the maximum. So what this means is it's going to look at the maximum of the date, basically means when the most recent sales order date was for the customer. And then we can also use a function to age it in days. So it's saying how many days has it been since their most recent order with us, right? And again, cool thing, you can sort your results by a formula field. So we can do that. So I think we can filter or sort by the transaction date. Let's see, where is it? Where did it go? Maybe not. There it is. It was hiding from me. All right, so we got that. Should be good. So we can then create this as a saved search. Call this last customer order and run it. So you can see here, like this is showing the last time this customer ordered from us was 131 days ago, right? Sorted from largest to smallest, obviously, but should probably figure out what's going on. You know, why are my customers continuing to order from me? Why has it been so long? Things like that. Just helpful to pinpoint some of this data so you could take action on it. So that wraps up the operational red flags review. We're going to jump into the system performance reviews and the APM tool. just a quick check, Charles. Any questions, concerns before we keep moving?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. We're nearing the end. I know we're towards the top of the hour, and we usually take about an hour. Sometimes we go a little over. We may go a little over here, but we're getting towards the end here, so appreciate it, everybody. Um, so yeah, the next topic was going to be using the APM tool to look at overall performance in your NetSuite environment. So you have to install the APM bundle. So to do that, if you go to the Suite app tab in your NetSuite, you can bring it up, and then you could search for APM, which stands for Account Performance Management. You see there's a bundle here. You would click on it and install it. We've already installed it, so it shows installed, but that's essentially you need to install that bundle. Once you have, then you'll see under customization, you now have a performance section, and you can use some of these pages and things to try to monitor your performance in your account. We'll go through a couple of them, not all of them. There's quite a bit to go through, but the first one we'll look at is the performance health dashboard. It's just a quick snapshot of from a dashboard perspective how performance looks in the account. So it's looking as of for the last 7 days. It, these reports take a little while to load, but yep, saying that everything looks pretty good within the last 7 days. So maybe that's good, maybe that's helpful, maybe it's not, but worth at least checking out. The next page that we would look at is if you go to performance, the record page monitor. We bring that up. You can filter to see, you got some different filters you could leverage here. So we'll change it to the highest response time. So what's taking the most time to respond and refresh. So it kind of tells you where things are taking a long time. Mm. So you can see here it's saying that within the last 24 hours, there was a sales order that took 38 seconds to respond. This is a demo account. I think you've seen it spin. It's not the fastest account, so most of it's going on is NetSuite. But if you wanted to drill into it to figure out why did it take 38 seconds, you can click on it, and then it will bring up another, some graphs and things for you to look at, and you see where it spiked. This happened at 9 a.m. On December 19th, so today, and it shows you right there it took 38 seconds. Right? And if you want to get a more granular breakdown of how that 38 seconds was made up, you can go to this execution time distribution graph and click into it. And then this will load. Mm-mm-mm. So now it gives you a breakdown and a pie chart of what was taking so long. You can sort this by clicking response time. So if you sort it, now it's sorted largest to smallest. So you see, look, of that 38 seconds, 31 of it was just NetSuite. Yikes. It's a demo account. Like I said, they don't give as much bandwidth to these accounts for demonstration purposes and stuff, but that's what was eating up most of the time. But you can then see the next largest thing was a Celigo integration running at 3 seconds. And then it looks like there was a script that somebody created that's hiding transactions that took 2 seconds. So Celigo, that's kind of a lockdown, integration thing. Probably not going to figure that out. But scripts that our developers made, you can see we got some masterclass scripts and stuff in here and all that stuff. Might want to pinpoint why it's taking. It shouldn't take 2 seconds or almost 3 seconds to hide something. So you can further drill into that script, that specific script, and at this point, you've kind of at least pinpointed where maybe some slowness is happening when it happened. You have the name of what the script was, when it happened. So really, you could then at least helpfully maybe hand this off to your developer or somebody who can then go look into those scripts to see why they're taking so long or taking so much performance time. Um, what we've seen sometimes is if you have a script that's running a save search, maybe it's running on every line or every transaction when it could be filtered to be more optimized and things like that. So there are things that you can do to definitely go tweak and improve performance and optimize performance of these scripts and integrations. So just kind of a cool way to show how you can kind of drill your way down from a top level, drill all the way down to the specific scripts or things in question. The next thing that's really important to note and monitor is your concurrency. So if you go to performance, there's this concurrency monitor. If we bring that up, we could change it to the last 30 days just to get a larger sample size. Again, it takes a little while to run its results. While it's loading, I'm just going to look at the Q&A. Um, oh, error occurred. That's not good. There it goes. Let's try one more time. Okay. So it was saying, great free bundle from NetSuite enhances last touch points. You can drill down into the page time details. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Roy. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting familiar with this. It's usually our dev team or more technical people who run these tools, but was hoping I can highlight here for some people how they could use this tool. Um, Effectively what you'll see when this thing loads is where your peak performance is. Uh, it's kind of giving you like a heat chart down here that if you start getting up to above 100 and the brown and the red, you got some issues. Um, Things to note for or look is it's saying that we have a concurrency limit of 5. So if your peak concurrency is exceeding your limits, that means you have a concurrency problem and you got to figure out what's going on there. So because your NetSuite is not performing optimally, um, typically somebody would derive that maybe that means you need to increase your throughput and get more threads and more concurrency available. But you got to be careful not to make that assumption because we had a client who we found out that they were effectively, here we go. So now it finally loaded. So you see here, we are pretty close. We're allowed a limit of 5 and we're hitting 6. If this continues to climb, we might start to see more performance issues and things like that. But what I was trying to say is we had a client um, and they were thinking that they needed to purchase a Suite Cloud Plus license, which would basically give you more threads and more concurrency. But what we found out before they purchased that, and I think the Suite Cloud Plus license is like $24,000 a year, so it's not cheap. What we found out is just they were not limiting the allocation of their concurrency. So if you don't set any type of allocation limits on an integration, it just provides full bandwidth to any integration. So we just went in there and worked with the client that they had some low priority integrations. So we didn't give that as much allocation. So by just rearranging their allocation, they got more optimal performance and they didn't actually have to buy an extra Suite Cloud Plus license. So it's just an example right there, like literally saved our client $24,000 a year just by running this tool and looking at it and understanding what was going on. So it is really helpful. The second example that really just happened, I was talking with a client 2 weeks ago, was they were having issues, slow performance, and they did come to the conclusion that they needed to buy another Suite Cloud Plus license. They bought it from NetSuite, and when NetSuite provisioned it, they somehow messed up and literally provisioned them down to one Suite Cloud Plus license. So all of their key integrations with RF Smart and all these different things, their warehouse literally it was crawling. It came to a halt, and the CIO was able to run this tool to figure out what the hell's going on. I should have a lot more concurrency than five because I have like four Suite Cloud Plus licenses. He was able to figure out that something got screwed up in the provisioning of it, and NetSuite had to go in and fix it and correct it. So this tool really is helpful and important just to make sure that you have enough bandwidth and throughput on your NetSuite account. Another thing that could be indicator to look at if you are seeing some slow system performance that could be a clue is you can look at your billing information. So if you go to setup, company, view billing information, you see right here that there's two asterisks. Anything with two asterisks could impact the performance of your service tier. So you could see like if your file cabinet, if you're hitting your capacity on your file cabinet, you might start to see some service tier degradation. Um, if you're exceeding your monthly transaction lines, here this client has 200,000 transaction lines per month. Some clients start to climb past that, right? And if you do, you'll start seeing some system performance slow down and all those things. So you may want to check here to see are we constantly going above and beyond our transaction lines per month? That's usually an indication that you probably need to up your service tier and things like that too. So just a quick touch and flavor into using the APM tool to kind of monitor your account, and hopefully that's helpful. It looks like Roy, you have some experience with it too, so that's pretty cool. Um, the last thing here, guys, just because I know we got the holidays coming up and we're a little over, was just going to show audit trails. So there is a feature in NetSuite where you can go to transactions management. Where is it? Let's see. Hold on. Transactions management view audit trail. And this is kind of cool. I was going to use it rather than having to do a save search and things like that. You can try playing around with the filters here in the audit trail page. So you can either run for a particular user, you can look for a particular action. Was something created? It changed, it got deleted. So just hitting delete and submit, this is going to show you all the transactions that have been deleted in your account. Why are people deleting so much stuff? If it's an issue, if you're trying to go figure out, I swear there was something there. Did something get deleted? You can at least maybe pinpoint who deleted it and have a conversation with them. Uh, and then another cool thing is you could search by date ranges. You can search by amount. So maybe I want to look for, was there any checks that were, greater than $1 million? And transaction type is a check. Hit submit. It finds that there is a transaction. There is a check here for $1.5 million. Probably want to look into that and figure out what's going on, just to make sure that it's valid. But it's good for finding transactions like that. Similar example, even if you didn't necessarily know the transaction type, you could try looking through the accounts. So if I was to look at the bank account for anything greater than $1 million, same thing. It will find the same transaction here. So kind of a cool feature to be able to kind of look at your audit trails, maybe pinpoint, spot some issues, quickly find them, and things of that nature. So we kind of had a lot to cover here today. We got through it all. Charles, I'm going to hand it back to you, and we can kind of proceed to Q&A and next steps.
Yeah, we got I think Roy had a bunch of comments in here too. If you want to, I don't know if we want to go through those, or Roy, if you want to chat, you can come off mute.
Yeah, I'm happy to help any way I can. I posted some of my knowledge in the chat, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to help. But yeah, so Dean, I use that APM tool daily. There is
Mm-hmm.
a page time details that you can drill into, and you can tell if like your users have a slow network, if they need to
Mm-hmm.
clear their browser cache. We've even found that going back to your example of a long running save search within a script, we used that tool to identify it and said, holy smokes, this script that's running in, or this search that's running within this script caused this sales order to take over, 45 seconds. We trimmed up the saved search, got it down to a couple seconds.
Yep. Yep. 100%. Yeah, I know. It's great. And most users don't, the hard part, I think it's a little intimidating. I got to be honest. Like our developers are the ones who use that tool. I hadn't really used it before either. So I kind of had to get a little, uh, cliff notes and a little quick training on it. But seeing it, I'm like, it is very powerful. If you're the admin on your NetSuite account, I think you better know how to use this tool, at a minimum.
Yep,
Uh,
agreed. And then going back to, there's a priority setting tool that administrators on the call may want to know about. It's in the customization scripts menu. It's called
hmm
priority settings. By default, some companies that have bundles and suite apps will install their bundles against certain queues. You don't want that. You want them to run not on a queue. You want them to run as they need to, especially if you have a Suite Cloud Plus license. So
hmm
there's a thing called priority setting. You go in there and just uncheck it from not running on a specific queue. It just says run on any queue that's available. Highly recommend look. That's a native NetSuite thing. That's not a paid for setting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's helpful. That is awesome. It's fun to hear the actual use cases and stories, right? Like that's it's cool when you have real examples to kind of put to the use case. Another one that we found was a lot of people, it's most common to run scheduled scripts or batching and stuff at midnight. So when we ran the APM tool on one of our clients, right, they were seeing that they had set up all their scripts to run at midnight. So at midnight, the thing was through the roof. Like you just see that blowing up red that like everything's running at midnight. So just to optimize that, they just spread it out a little bit. Not everything has to run at midnight. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of examples like that where having a tool like that can really just pinpoint and show you what you probably wouldn't have been able to figure out as quickly.
Mhm. Yep. And then
So,
the concurrency monitor is very powerful. One thing to note is that when you do set limits on the integration, let's say you've got going back to the WMS, let's say you allow it to full use all the paths, and then you
hmm
limit it to like 5 queues out of 25 if you've got the Suite Cloud Plus. It then becomes a drop down in the concurrency monitor so that way you can see if that said WMS integration or whatever the integration is going over its own limits.
mm,
So it becomes like a drop down. And I'm experiencing that now because we've got so many integrations with like Sligo and WMS and Restlets and some other things that we're working on. So I do not want to pay for a Suite Cloud Plus license, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
And that's the hard part. I don't know if it's a sales tactic or whatever, but I told you the example was for one of our clients. NetSuite just told them, well, you clearly just need to buy a Suite Cloud Plus license. And then that's when we figured out, no, you just need to reallocate it optimally. You know what I mean? And they didn't have to buy one. So you just really got to look at it. You said, Roy, you look at this tool almost every day.
For the concurrency and the APM tool, I look at it once a week unless we're up against our contract and they're trying to tell us we need to buy more. So
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man.
but
Well,
I'm an admin for 650 users, just to put things in perspective.
yeah. No, I've appreciated your expertise and kind of your use cases and things. I think it brings a lot of value and it's fun to talk through. So I appreciate you. A lot of people don't want to come off mute and even talk, so I really appreciate it, Roy. It's been great feedback, great collaboration. Um, Anything else that stood out to you, or any? I guess maybe we can ask those on the call. Any takeaways from today? Was this helpful? Not helpful? Most of this you already knew. Maybe some of it was new. Just kind of curious what the overall kind of thoughts were. You could either put it in the comments if you want or come off mute.
Seems like everyone's pretty shy. Any questions? We can just open up, just do a Q&A, and
Mm-hmm.
if you have any questions, feel free. You can raise your hand or put a Q&A in the chat. While we do this, I'm actually going to launch our survey. You take 30 seconds to fill out the survey. That really helps us understand what you guys want going forward, right? Um, Dean good job in putting this together. Obviously, as always, Dean puts a lot of time and effort into this. So if you guys can spend a little bit of time to fill that out, that'd be great. It's like 7 or 8 questions. Um, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But any questions you guys want to answer, it doesn't have to be on these topics, literally on anything that we kind of went over.
Yep, might be good. If you do have questions, like I said, go ahead and ask now as we're looking to wrap up. But I think one important call is we really want to put some more juice up this masterclass series going forward. So we're going to be a little bit more forward thinking and try to kind of come up with the curriculum for next year and be able to start pushing that out and kind of in advance. So it's not just so every month, what are we going to do next month type thing. So we're gonna put some more resources and structure around it. So hoping that we can continue to improve it and make it better. And uh, your feedback and thoughts really help in us, improving it and getting it better each time. So really appreciate it.
Yep. The survey should have popped up on your screen. Literally takes less than 30 seconds. You can just fill that out really quick. We'll still take questions though. If you guys have questions, put in the chat, raise your hand, etc., and then we'll get them answered. Uh, anything else? Give it a couple more minutes. I don't see. I know everyone's kind of shy with questions. I think that's it. We don't have any other questions. Free information, right? Free
There we
opportunity
go.
to ask free questions about your instance, whatever the case may be. Feel free, raise your hand, put in the chat. If not, I'll give it a minute or two here, and if you can fill out that survey, that'd be greatly appreciated. I don't see any hands.
All right.
All right. Well,
I know people, it's Friday and the holidays are approaching. So yeah, really appreciate it, Charles, everybody. Hope everybody had a good year. Looking forward to a good new year, and hopefully everybody can spend some good time with their family over the holidays and recharge for a new year. So we're excited.
absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate you, Dean. Good job once again. Everyone, have a great holiday season. See you in the new year.
Thanks,
God bless.
everybody. Take
Bye.
care.